Hello there, I hope you've had a nice week. Let's take a look at where a few more random words come from: sketchy, yoga, and nugget. First up, sketchy. The tale begins in the late 18th century with the term sketchy, derived from the word sketch, signifying a rough or unfinished drawing or painting. Of course, sketch retains this meaning today. The roots of the term can be traced back to the Dutch word schets or the Italian word schizo, both translating to sketch or splash. The first recorded use of sketchy was in 1805, documented by the OED. The term had initially been used by artists and creative individuals to describe the preliminary nature of their artwork. It's worth noting that, even back then, the meaning was being generalized beyond art to other areas of life, denoting an outline of the main features of an idea, as opposed to a complete picture of its details. Over time, sketchy began to shift further, taking on the meaning of unsubstantial, imperfect or flimsy by 1878. By the time we hit the late 20th century, particularly in North America, the word's connotation had continued its negative drift. Sketchy now refers to something dubious or suspicious. So that's the deal with sketchy. Moving on, now let's have a look at yoga. This word comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which signifies the act of uniting or literally yoking with a supreme spirit. Going even further back, we can link it with the Proto-Indo-European root yurg, meaning to join. It's a pretty short commute from Sanskrit to Hindi, during which it took on the familiar yoga form we know these days. And it's from Hindi that yoga came into English, apparently in 1820. Unfortunately, Google broke when I tried finding that exact 1820 source, but you could imagine it involved a diary by some sneering, mustachioed imperialist wearing a red tunic and behaving badly. Here's a fun yoga-adjacent phonetics fact. When you think of someone doing yoga, you might picture someone on an overpriced mat, closing their eyes and repeating the syllable om. Here's the thing about om. Phonetically, it's a combination of vowels that uses pretty much the entire vocal tract during the course of its utterance. You start out way deep at the bottom and back of the throat, widening out in the middle, then rounding off and finally closing at the lips. In other words, not only does yoga stretch your limbs and body bits out, but it also stretches your vocal tract. How about that, eh? Amazing. Wasn't that a fun little nugget? Speaking of which, let's talk about nugget. Nugget first turns up during the gold rush in the mid-19th century. The first written use of the term nugget comes from an 1852 issue of the California newspaper, The Mountain Democrat, where a miner refers to a large discovery as a nugget. That still doesn't answer the question where the word came from, though. It turns out nobody knows. The exact origin of nugget is a mystery, but it might be linked to a southwestern English dialect term nug, meaning lump. So a plausible conjecture is that a guy from the southwest of England went to California to get rich, found himself a little lump of the good stuff, and referred to it as a nugget when the reporter asked him about it. Conjecture aside, over the years the usage of nugget has expanded. Now it can refer to a morsel of valuable information, offering intellectual wealth, or a bite-sized piece of food. Personally, I like the idea of a random schmuck in a far-off land boldly using his native dialect to express himself. The fact that he threw an ETT onto it makes the whole thing even better. Anyhow, that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by and have a lovely rest of your day.